Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Unlimited Railworks, Video Game Choo-Choo's anime podcast. It's me, your host Rose, and with me is the whole gang of Maverick.
Hello, I'm back.
I'm glad that you're back. You're always busy. You're always a crazy busy bee, it seems.
It seems it's more just like the day job that asks me of stuff, and then I kind of just hang out in between it.
I mean, that's fair. That's still busy in my book. Similarly busy is Elvie.
Hello.
Hi.
I am also here, otherwise.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're here. Did you just finish your class that you were doing?
Yes.
Is that what you did today? That's great. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I'm glad that you did that, even if you had that weird guy randomly coming in and out.
For context, I was taking an online class right before our podcast recording for the past couple of weeks. And it was only like 2 to 3 months total of a semester, so not even a full semester really. But yeah, there was a guy. This is a paid class, and there was a guy who kind of comes in at the beginning, and then he just leaves. And this has been going on for every class, but then he actually was kind of present for half of it today. So I don't know how to feel now. Maybe my opinion has changed. I don't know this guy now. I don't even interact with him compared to the other classmates I have. It was just a little weird. You know, and I'm sure anyone who has experience doing a paid class and feeling pissed about I paid for this. Why is this person just now wasting their money and time? Wasting a slot, and it's one of those things. Yeah. This is virtual, but still there was a limit, So very strange.
I want to believe that there's a rich tapestry behind his backstory as to why this all happened to him.
Right. Yeah.
Or something.
Did he have? Yeah, I was thinking maybe he had bad reception now that I'm thinking about it, because it seemed like he did. But it was still weird. You miss 90% of it was very odd. Very odd.
That is very strange. John is also busy. Hi, John.
Hi. Yeah, I'm not still not watching as much anime as I would like, just because of work, and also I'm in video game mode lately. I really am. But yeah, I finished a show lately, and I watched a movie, which is what we're going to talk about. So, hey, there you go.
Yeah. That dang movie is Liz and the Blue Bird, which is a KyoAni film, I believe primarily, from 2018, directed by Naoko Yamada. It's sort of a spin-off of Hibiki Euphonium. I guess. It takes place in the same universe. Spin-off is the correct term, but it feels weird because it's so, they have nothing to do with this, fundamentally it has nothing to do with what's actually happening here. But yeah, it's a movie about, these two girls, Mizore and Nozomi, and it's sort of about, it is to a degree presented through the medium of their high school's band and the music and pieces therein, but it is fundamentally about their relationship and how they try to figure out how they feel about each other and what they need to do for each other over the course, through a lot of, metaphorical and a lot of kinning, this movie, I would say. Actually, surprisingly, I was surprised that this movie came down fundamentally to, kin mix-ups. Very interesting. But yeah, it's only 90 minutes long. But it feels complete. It feels very, very weighty with that amount of time, even still. I would say it honestly felt more weighty than an entire season of Hibiki Euphonium, as someone who saw all of that. That was a series that had a lot of events happen, but a lot of those events did not matter. So I think this more concise storytelling definitely was a boon in its favor. But John, you picked this, so I did want to hear your take on it first.
Sure. So I'll be honest here. My the reason why I picked this, I mentioned it last time, but it's because I picked up a copy of this on Blu-ray for super cheap. I like my roommate and I were just like trolling around, came across like a movie store, and they had this for like $3 or something like that. And I just know that, you know, people really, really like this movie. Like, a lot of people I follow on Twitter, and Trixie really likes it. And so I was just like, yeah, you know, I'll give this a shot. I'll pick it up. You know, it's $3. What do I gotta lose? Fast forward a holy goddamn year. I still haven't watched it. This is an excuse. This is a great excuse. Just be like, boom, let's check it out. I have not really any kind of history with sound euphonium. I think I maybe watched 1 or 2 episodes. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. But I do have some history with band. I was in I was in band. I was in a orchestra band for pretty much all of middle school. And then I was in marching band for a year in high school, which I dropped out of that because I just didn't really want to be in that like clique, kind of. I don't know. I just it got kind of weird, is what I will say. So I do have some fondness, some fun memories of playing instruments. Like I actually straight up did play euphonium. So that is a bit of a nostalgia trip for me. And so with this movie, it's a lot of people were saying that this is like one of the best anime films of the year. There was a lot of hype about this, and when I like about halfway through the movie, I was like, man, what the fuck are people talking about? This isn't really anything. And by the time I got to the end of it, I was like, yeah, no, there is something to this, but it didn't like floor me. I just thought it was all right. I thought that there were some nice moments. I liked how the characters developed. I liked how they, you know, realized their place in each other's lives. And while it was a bit cliche, I did really like the scene of them playing the duet and having a conversation through music, and like having their relationship sort of fall into place as they played the song. But it's also just still pretty. I mean, it's a bit run of the mill in a way, where it's just like this. There is like a there's a what's the word? There's a novelty to it, in that it is about 2 girls, but I think that if it was about a boy and a girl, I think it would be seen as a lot more boring than it is. So, you know, it's I guess it's one of those things where it's like, wow, you know what? I guess it's good that, you know, we're getting to the point where gay stories can just be a little boring. I guess that's good, you know. But like, I don't know, like I still think that there is something there. I still think that there's really fantastic animation. I think that the 2 main characters are very strong, but I think it's a bit too long. Like, I know saying that an hour and a half long movie is too long is kind of insane. But like we were talking about it a bit on the Discord, and like maybe this would have been better as like a 60-minute OVA or something. Like I do think that there's a couple of scenes in this that are very much just like the characters just sitting there and discussing something that they had discussed like 2 scenes before, and it not really going anywhere. I feel like that happens like 2 or 3 times in the movie, which again would have probably been trimmed away if this was an OVA of some kind. Like there's a lot going for it though, and I don't want it to sound like I hated it, because I really didn't. I walked away from it entertained, and I was sitting there and thinking about the characters and thinking about how they interacted, but then also, like, now that I'm a few weeks separated from it, like, I just don't feel like super strongly for it. I'm happy that it exists. I'm glad that I watched it, but I'm not like, oh man, I'm gonna watch this again. Which is funny that I own it, because I am probably never gonna watch it again. If not, probably not anytime soon at the very least. But yeah, I thought it was fine, and that is about as strong of an opinion as I can have with it. I thought it did what it wanted to do fairly well. I really liked the animation. I liked the character designs, and it did pretty decently for me.
Yeah, I can definitely understand the boring angle of it. So I have to say, for my part, immediately, I made a bit of a mistake here. I watched it on Crunchyroll. I don't know if any of you guys did.
I didn't realize that they had it.
Oh, well, having it is a generous statement. So the Crunchyroll version, immediately I have to say, is apparently something happened 3 months ago, and all the subtitles are fucked up for it. So the first 10 minutes of it do this thing where every single line has arrow / bold arrow in every sentence, like beginning and end for syntax. So there's some sort of error there. And then after that, the text keeps getting further and further ahead of the movie.
What the hell?
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but it was a little bit of a challenge to watch, but I think I generally still got it. You'd think that maybe I would have been like, wow, the subtitles are fucked, but I was just like, you know what, no, I'm watching this damn movie. So for me, I think it definitely resonated with remembering girls like that in my high school that I hung out with extremely, who are like the main character. Just very quiet and focus on following other people. And I think that that's a really realistic and interesting thing to approach. And I like it's very trite, but the concept of the girl that you think has everything together has literally no idea what she's doing. And I like the resolution to their relationship a lot more than, as I said, I watched Hibiki Euphonium, and I like things that happen at the end of season 2 of Hibiki Euphonium. I think it's really interesting to have approached that show of wow, look, here's the ship, and then it's actually, that girl's insane. Here's a new lesbian for you. That happens in that show. But it just really does waste a lot of time in a way that a lot of better KyoAni shows don't. I think about Violet Evergarden and stuff like that. But this being so I think that's my experience of being yeah, I thought this was all right, because it was I had the knowledge of how bad it could be, as it were. But I think the main thing I took away from this movie is the craftsmanship behind it. Obviously it's KyoAni, so it looks beautiful, but
yeah,
it never really strikes you until you watch a KyoAni thing after watching I've been watching a lot of shows this season, right? And we all know that this is not a great season. But the thing that really struck me watching this, that I really took note of, was just man, KyoAni draws everyone in a scene.
Oh yeah.
Every scene, it's not there are no generic dudes. I just think about how there are multiple guys with glasses that they show in this movie, 3 or something, and they all look completely different from each other. There's all of the girls have completely different things, even if their haircuts are mostly the same or their hair color is the same. They put so much flavor into everyone that it makes it feel a lot more like a world that you're living in, that I really thought was good. I think I believe it's made up, Liz and the Bluebird, the short story.
Yes.
I believe it is an invented children's story. That's the most insane children's story I've ever seen in my life. I'm going to say that right now.
Oh yeah.
I have no idea what sort of like German storyteller was like, here's my beautiful story about a lesbian and her bird daughter wife who she releases at the end of the story. Like I unsure who that audience is, like the audience that was designed for in universe. But
those two girls apparently, those exact
those two girls. Yeah, I was gonna say like, but it all works out. I mostly like this movie. I think I do agree it airs on there boring, especially because it had been really hyped up. I think for me in my Yuri circles, as like really really good. And I think it's like it is. I think some people refer to it as queer baiting. I don't think that's true. I think it is pretty definitively lesbian-y. But
yeah, like I would say that of course, just due to how things are, they're not going to completely pull the trigger 100%, but it's about as close as you could get. And yeah, I would say that like it's not queerbaity at all. I would say it's very much just like it's about these two characters just navigating their relationship, and like it's yeah, like if they don't like the way that it ends up, it doesn't feel like they necessarily like it kind of ends on a they understand each other better, and it doesn't really seem like they like there's a lot of tribulation they will have to go to if they do want to have a healthy relationship, but there is still like that spark of hope there, and I think that's kind of how it felt to me, where it's just like they went through this really tough thing and kind of just grew a bit more distant because they were being honest with each other finally, but that honesty will allow them to mend that barrier, and if they are able to do so, they will connect far more than they were before. And so just the fact that the movie didn't end with them immediately kissing and making up, like it's a bit more mature than that, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially compared to like a lot of more blushy crishy Yuri stuff, it's much more mature in that regard. Maverick, I would like to hear from you since you weren't here last time around. I do want to hear your voice talk about things.
Oh, well, luckily you pulled in not only the former double reed player, a bassoon player, concert band.
Oh, here we go.
You're also looking at a former jazz band member, a former woodwind ensemble
wow.
member. You're looking at the drum major for 2 years in a row.
Oh, hell yeah.
Good old 2014 to 2015. Or 2013 to 2015. This is kind of my wheelhouse, kind of my bag. No, I mean, God, I did watch this when it did like come out in the US, like for theater releases, and that idea, like, because I think about Liz and the Bluebird as sort of like, oh, that was a good one. But it wasn't necessarily something that like blew me away. Like it's very interesting in particular to think about the like 2016 and onward trend of like anime films and like what necessarily gets distributed, because and to sort of like lead into a bit of what Elvie, I feel like Elvie of like our group is definitely the one with more critique to at least be like broad on that subject. But like I think about this idea of like what exactly is this kind of film that's being made, and it's so interesting to me at least to think about like, okay, 2018 in film, what does that look like? What are some other things that I was getting specifically as we were seeing more like G-Kids distribution, local theaters like getting something on board with like the Fathom event stuff. And Penguin Highway is another one where I couldn't tell you exactly how I still feel about it. Like, I think it was good. I want to, like, I look at that one kindly. I think about, like, I don't know if any of y'all have heard about Napping Princess, or like,
Yeah, I've seen that as well.
oh,
I
that
have,
was,
yeah.
if I'm thinking about a genuinely, if I think about time that I wish I took back, that is the movie.
No, you're, and I don't want to overstep my bounds until it's my turn. But
No,
like,
go
yeah,
for it,
that
go
was
for it.
that's a year where there was a lot of like, anime kind of original features being localized. Yeah, I don't want to assume they all came out the same year, but that was certainly a year. I think that was what's happening. I think this is like, that was already beginning the time where G Kids was becoming a forefront in terms of like anime film distribution. I think that was the beginning of the end of Disney's relationship with Studio Ghibli. So there was now more independent distributors willing to take that leap. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, you see, in a weird way, like, it felt like everyone immediately saw how big your name was getting, and was like, all right, we gotta do something in. Liz and the Bluebird feels so separate to that in a way. One, for the fact that it is like a grounded spin-off of a property that's already popular. Like, it didn't need the boost, so to say, in order to get itself off the ground. In fact, like, the fact that there's another movie afterwards that is just the full-on, like, Sound Euphonium sequel film before we get the third season of this juggernaut of a show. Like, it's curious to me, sort of just like, in one part, seeing the actual craftsmanship on hand, and also recognizing the fact that, like, this is, I would say, the closest KyoAni has gotten to sort of making a genuine, like, original script, I would say. Since so much of their work, if not all of it, is, like, adaptation work. And taking their expertise into a story that's already fully fleshed out. Here, it definitely feels like people taking the helm for something that, you have a foundation in, but stepping out, and the fact that it is so character driven feels that way, where, there are definitely all these other, like, twists and turns that we can incorporate, but let's, like, take it down a step and focus on these two characters specifically, in sort of like this in between of, like, what exactly does it mean to grow up? What exactly does it mean to, process these feelings as you're already trying to handle other responsibilities? And what really, I think, sticks to me is that idea that by the end of it, it's like, oh God, I didn't realize that I was the person that I thought this other, like, that I thought my friend was. I didn't realize that our roles were switched this entire time. And for, like, in that as well, I think, to specifically be brought out by, like, the focus between, like, flute and oboe, I appreciate, if only because, like, there is such a, like, even outside of any sort of, like, awareness, really, of, like, band dynamics or whatever, there's definitely that assumption of, like, oh, for sure, like, this person is supposed to be a particular way as opposed to this other person, but by the end of it, you sort of just see that role reversal. It's a very, I give it credit for being very straightforward with how it wants to set up expectations, and then, give a very simple switch in a way. It's not something groundbreaking, but it does feel sort of like it feels worth the effort, if only to, get your legs out and just, like, get the exercise on. If I had to develop this from beginning to end, sort of just on my own, how could I get to that conclusion? And I think it works. Is it the most jaw-dropping film? Again, I don't think so. There's definitely other stuff that, like, I think hits this narrative at a much, like, deeper and consistent level. Like, my other point of comparison would be the Revue Starlight movie, which is like maybe 5 times as like blunt with the metaphor it's going for, but then at the same time it is just throwing everything at the wall to get you to understand, again, similar themes that are happening here. But it's I appreciate that, again, thinking around this time, so many things are trying to be like in that space of magical realism and grandiose, and some stuff landed, some stuff really didn't. To be more grounded was somehow the divergent path around this time, and that I appreciate. I think it works well, and especially for a studio like KyoAni that is so good at highlighting subtlety, at highlighting just the minutia of day to day.
Yeah, I think I'm glad to have your take on the musical angle as well, as someone who's completely detached from
My other
world.
thing as well is like, I know that it would take longer, but it's like I do wish that for these kinds of things, since the score is so focused on that third movement with like the focus on the oboe and the flute, I wish that they would have like multiple takes and use them to get to that point, because like obviously they use the one that's already set and it's going to be fine, but it's like me as someone that can maybe hear that, where again it's and it's so like it's abstract to get this idea of phrasing where it's not like, you know, it's not that they're not playing the right notes, it's that, oh, the actual sensation of playing this is in conflict with this other person that you're duetting with, because you don't realize the actual role each of you are playing. That is difficult to immediately comprehend with music. Like, and
Yeah,
but with the actual climax of it, you know, you have that one member that's like sobbing by the end of it, and it's like, no, you're right. Like, that would definitely be so evocative to be in the room to get there, but it's like, God, it is always so difficult to get music to really feel that way in the narrative of something. I don't think I've like seen something really hit it. Like, and I don't mean like, oh, you know, a song plays at the right time, because I'll tell you plenty of moments where that happens and I'm a mess. Shout out to Pig, Nicolas Cage's Pig. But here it's more so this idea that, like, you know, or it's similar to other Beck Mongolian Chop Squad. You know, this idea of like, here is the best rock band in the world getting their start in Japan. The music is good, I really dig it, but it's not at that level that they're reaching. It gets close to it, but it's just so difficult to emulate. And it's not a task I expect to be done so easily. So that's like my one, not even like a complaint, it's just like, it's a recurring thing that happens, and at some point I've got faith that someone's going to figure it out. To actually get to the point of like, here is the solo that'll make anybody, you know, understand the intricacy of musical phrasing and soul. Maybe the Blue Giant movie will do it. I have no fucking idea.
sorry, I was soaking it in for a second. I was looking up stuff about Euphonium a little bit. But Elvie, you seemed a little less positive than Maverick, perhaps. And I did want to hear your take on everything.
Absolutely. No, I think it's great hearing all of your thoughts beforehand, because I'm realizing now, like, oh, wow, yeah, I agree, like, with a lot of the bits and pieces you all have been saying so far. And it really, I think, helps support my personal perspective that I did not jive with this film. I was very I was very miffed by it, if you will, very pressed by it. I did not like it. I sadly did not. I sadly did not like Liz and the Bluebird. And I was going to expect to like it. I had this anticipation I was going to like it, and again, which is kind of muddled by again, similar to John, there was like a lot of positive reception around this film that I think characterized my expectations with it beforehand, before watching it. I also personally do not have an attachment to the original series this spun off from. But it really struck me when John said if this was like about a relationship between a man and a woman, that I think it would really emphasize the problems I had with the movie, and that it had like and that basically that I felt like the movie had a lot of cliches to it that really did not land with me in a way that I felt like was done before. And not to say done better, but just done before, where I felt like it was very tired. And yeah, Maverick, your perspective of like what was going on is very helpful too. And again, I appreciate your perspective as someone who has a music mind and has had experience doing music. And that's something that struck with me too. Like, yeah, like it is difficult to depict, especially in animation, I think particularly, because animation's all about visuals and not this, and sound is kind of like secondary, but also still very significant. But the depicting music actually, like depicting the actual visceral feeling of producing music and making music, and when you're not in there, when you're not the one holding the drumsticks, when you're not the one holding it is difficult to convey that personal feeling. I thought of something like Solanin, for instance, by Inio Asano, where the role of music in that is not really about music itself. It's about how music is the channel for something else, which is about a young woman's grief. It's about a young woman learning how to move on through her boyfriend's band and all that, and learning how to cope with that. But it's not really about music itself. And although there are very pivotal climactic moments in that manga, and there's like a live action adaptation too that I've yet to watch of it, where the band is like, you know, kind of having this like moment like we're playing one last time, you know, but it's not really about the music. It's, again, the music is the channel of the cathartic moment that all these characters are having. So it's really not about that. And I kind of felt that way too about Liz and the Bluebird. That said, yeah, I think we all are pretty unanimous about the presentation of this is, you know, grand. It's good. Like that's not something at all that needs to be challenged at all. But it really is that, you know, like bullet points. Yeah, it is too long. I thought it was too long. I thought it was too long to convey what it wanted to convey. And in the end, although I agree, like the ending of it ended on a very unintentional. I mean, not intentional. Intentional. Yeah, it is intentional. An intentional kind of imperfect note, where, you know, there's still like this tension between these two girls, and sometimes you're not going to see that perfect resolution between how do you define a relationship and what you know, what was going, you know. I don't think we needed an hour and 30 minutes to get there. I don't think we needed an hour and 30 minutes to get there. I felt like, again, this is where it comes to the problem of like sometimes it feels like something is long as it is just to show off, and I don't think it was coming from a conceited place. I don't think this movie was doing it that at all. I think there was a genuine, authentic intent with this film to depict something beautiful here, but it definitely felt like there were many moments that meandered and lingered in such a way that did not need to be conveyed as long as it was. Like, again, the whole scene when, like, And again, I don't think it was flagrant. I was actually very subtle, and I didn't even think about it, again, as someone who's not attached at all to sound euphonium. The moment where they're like, oh yeah, we have to remind you about the characters that existed in sound euphonium. Like, here they are, there they are, and just kind of letting it linger on that for a bit. And it's like, sure, it needed to be there, but also that's like an example of like a bunch of deleted shots with those characters that could have really, I think, cleaned up this movie, already cutting down like a lot of minutes in a way. Like this definitely felt like a story that didn't need to depend on length, and I'm very saddened that it did. I'm very saddened that it chose to be a feature when it did not need to be a feature. I agree with you, Rose. Yeah, the story's insane. What children?
Yeah.
What?
I just like it's made to it is really made for a specific type of lesbian relationship.
I'll just say that like Hans Christian Andersen, The Little Mermaid was already on some yearning and pining shit. So
yeah, I know. But, like, it's just the weird bird daughter aspect that's just, like, I've read a lot of lesbian fiction.
But as a daughter, is she a sister?
Unclear.
Well, what about the Baker Arnolds?
I thought the Baker was great. I thought the Baker was awesome. I thought he was the GOAT.
Arland? They just shoved a bunch of consonants at once.
I just love when she brings the fucking bird to her work for that one day, and she's like, "Wow, there's so much bread," and he just goes, "Ho ho ho." It's just like, yeah, that's what you fucking do.
There's also something to me that like wanted more of the insane story, wanted the actualism, the Bluebird story. Like I think a lot. When I also thought about like how I felt like a similar relationship was going on between this and Sound Euphonium and Whisper of the Heart, and then The Cat Returns, where you have this weird, minute, tiny thing going on in Whisper of the Heart, and then you have Cat Returns, which also is just as an insane, furry, kinning story, spinning off of something completely unrelated for the sake of exploring something else, right? And that's yeah, I don't know, that's just kind of how I feel about it. I don't know, I was just very put off by just something I was not impressed by, ultimately, at the end, when I recognized that, oh yeah, there's like a lot of beautiful things it does. And for sure, yeah, again, like I said, presentation stellar, like ground up. Like, yeah, music is great, but perhaps not really capturing what music is. I don't know, I can't really answer that, but I think from a perspective of like critiquing its choice in story direction and pacing and composition, I think I feel like I've seen other things were able to convey what they were trying to do in a much shorter format. And yeah, I think a lot of it does ride on my issues with its duration. I don't think it needed to be a film. And I think that's like the biggest issue, ultimately, that is centered around my other more minute criticisms of it.
I don't disagree that it definitely could have been shorter. I think that's definitely been an issue in recent years, especially of runtime, of people feeling obligated to fit a specific amount of time into something. But I think, like, for me, a lot of that stuff worked just when I think of how much of, I don't know, just like teenage years can be just fucking staring out a damn window or something. Like, I think like that trying to replicate that aspect of it is good. I think it definitely lingers on that stuff maybe too much, but I think it's good in the same way. Like, it's like what I hate to keep going back to it, but really, like Flowers of Evil, those last few episodes where it is almost all just musing on that stuff, I thought it was bad there because in that format with what they were like evaluating and discussing, it felt really, really masturbatory, almost like jerk offy.
There's also the other part, like in regard to, again, that section of Flowers of Evil, like you're specifically looking at it from a middle school perspective, and the second part is entirely
these are like
in high school, where it's sort of like, again, the gears are turning in a way where it's like, okay, I am needing a few more things here, or like I can actually reflect a bit now, like there is more in conversation. And I think here as well, like the fact that we specifically have people in their third year and sort of like this, like I like the fact that a lot of the secondary cast is also, you know, second years, because yeah, like there's definitely the freshman experience of college, of high school. There's the senior experience of um high school and college. That middle part, it's just so weird. Either like the way sophomore year can kind of just be a blandness for some people. I will straight up say that both of my sophomore years of high school and college sucked ass. Like
Mhm.
that one in particular was like a dip for me in like both times. But then also it's like you're struggling with this idea that like I'm supposed to know more, and yet I still have people to look up to, but also I don't know where I stand with them entirely. And if I'm supposed to inherit, especially in a club setting, you know, I'm supposed to inherit this space. I don't know necessarily what's going on. Like, do I lean into that drama, or do I just go and try and make like my own stuff so that, you know, the next year when they're gone, we can sort of have a clean slate. There's so much to go on in the middle of that it's nice to also have at least a brief, like like a brief look into that sort of like interaction.
Yeah. Um, I I really like I know I said like with the way they design the people, but like just like the environments that they go to, just really like, I hate to use the word liminal space, but that's like where a lot of like these people are hanging out, you know, these weird like the I really liked the long drawn out conversation they had in the like edge of a hallway where they store a bunch of bullshit.
Oh yeah,
Like
no, like it. Oh my god, when I say that the band room was my second home in high school, I mean, like, I would have camped out some days, especially by like the last year of high school for me, because I was taking like 6 a.m. choir classes before class started, to then go through the dredge of everything else, to come back to the band room for whatever, like, because it was the last thing on my lit, like, it was the last class of the day. I would then, like, if I didn't have other, like, you know, cross country practice or meets or whatever, I would just stay there for marching band all the way through. Then the musical would start up. We have that space and the auditorium, since they were connected. I'd already still be there. I'd already be there for jazz band. I'd already be there for other ensemble. Like, I just lived in that space, and I can still visualize like going through the front door
uh-huh.
and just immediately like um hightailing it to the right side, because that's where that hallway was to get into that room. And that is where so many tears, so many silent moments, so many, like, so much lives in those hallways. And Liz and the Bluebird definitely taps into that. Like, it, again, I don't think the movie itself is very like my shit, but it just lives
It's
in such a particular space that I also haven't seen any other show get to. I haven't seen the marching band anime come out yet, and it's
yeah.
frankly whack that it hasn't.
No, I agree. That's mainly what I was thinking. Was I think like even if it's not a barn burner as a cohesive piece, it is so unique in what it is doing, even divorced from the lesbian aspect of it.
It's also
Like it is,
like,
it just has a craft to it.
yeah, and I don't know, like, I appreciate that it does understand the way physical locations do carry a lot of
Yeah,
meaning or sentiment, or even just, again, that, like, to evoke that area where, yeah, like, you'll just find an empty room to have a conversation in, because you got to take what you can. It doesn't matter if it's the science room, or if it's, you know, scuttling out into the hallway, or like right outside the locker room. You gotta just, if there's something to be done, you just know it has to be done here. And again, I do not know the entire history of the Japanese high school. We've seen plenty of anime as well, like as a group, where some of this comes up, you know, like the rooftop on like Kids on the Slope, or again, Flowers of Evil, the fact that you do like mess up the whole room, but like this one just feels so, it gets it.
Yeah, like I think about the scene with the fugu, like the focus on the fugu fish consistently as a background. Like that's just like set dressing that like has it really sticks out but stands in your memory. Like it reflects like a realism to the place of that thing. Like it's just like a fixture to focus on that, and just like them constantly seeing each other through the window to the band room. It's just like that sort of like realism angle. Like it just really, really well considered and thought out.
I forgot that their band teacher is cracked, but like the fact that with no mention of it, oh yeah, we got to take out the chairs real quick because we got to put down the rugs and also take off our shoes so that we have a full acoustic set and can hear every piece of the band. I'm like, God damn, my band teacher would do something that fucked up if he had the space and capacity to. Otherwise, like, again, like, for me, I just think back to all the times that we would just have to like help with rearranging the chairs or to figure out like where exactly to go in the actual room.
I'm glad that the one time Reina shows up, it's to be an insane person. Like in the story, it's just to be like really rude to her, even if she has good intentions. It just felt very like peak like that kid in band to me.
Yeah. And Elvie, I just wanted to, like, you mentioned what is it, the manga Solonin?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, like again, to get to that idea of like music and it's like used standalone versus an anime, like the first take performance that Asian Kung Fu Generation does, that shit hits because of the fact that it's like, you know, they do it right after like their lead singer's like, damn, we've been around for like 25 years. That is wild to think about. Anyway, here's this song that we wrote in order to like talk about two people coming to terms and like moving away from one another. Like that, the performance aspect is so incredible, but then to actually look it up, it's like, yeah, they do this, and you can't even hear the whole song because they're adding in narrative and other stuff. All I ask is for an anime that centers the music. And I guess isn't Carol and Tuesday, but I don't know how that went.
Having seen that,
they not even do it?
no, I don't know. I'm trying to process like my memory of it. They definitely do, but I from what I recall talking about it, it's a little. They definitely do center the music, but I feel like in a very narrow perspective that I personally do not agree with. From my takeaway of it, it felt very much like on a surface,
good music versus the evil music.
No, on the surface, like on the surface, it feels very. Electronic music is scary. Oh shit! These AI idols, they're gonna. Oh shit! Like it very much like. I think it very much wanted to say about humanity's connection to art, and like I agree with that. Like art cannot be made without a human touch. There is, no matter what you do, I think like there is that balance between mechanical and actually human when it comes to making something creative. And I felt like Carol and Tuesday was a little weird about like what it wanted to say around that. And in the end, the celebrity sung Imagine, which is what happened in the finale of Carol Tuesday.
Oh,
and it tried too much to kind of tie it with a bizarre political thing. You know, basically it was kind of like all over the place. It had this promising start of like, here we're following these like young, like unknown underdogs, and what can they do against this world where everything's a reality show and all that. But then I feel like it kind of got lost. So I'm even having a hard time defining what Carol and Tuesday was trying to say about music itself. But all I can say is the celebrity sung Imagine at the end, and no wars were had. It did too much, I think. I think something like, focusing on a marching band is perhaps the most purest form one can do with a story exploring that experience. Yet we don't quite have that yet.
There is a lot, and specific, like, again, and in the limited time that I was able to explore that, you go through understanding like the movement of something and how exactly you want that to flow. I don't know. There is so much, and
we both watched Tact Op, and they kind of beefed it with that too, because
by all means,
because at the end of the day they were trying to promote a gacha game, sadly.
Oh, remember?
Again, it's this idea of like, what's music? It is
it was secondary
set of classical
not even secondary, it was very
performers.
tertiary.
Yeah.
Again, it had a very interesting setup in the beginning with a main character who's like a classically and then it became just like, here's my battler wife. I couldn't choose between two women, so they became one wife. They become one very powerful wife at the
Xenoblade
end.
Chronicles too.
Minus the polyamory.
Mm-hmm. Cowardice, very cowardice that he couldn't have both wives.
Yeah, there's just so many fucking bullshit music shows. I just think of like Listeners. Like, what the fuck was that? I don't even know.
Where is the DDR show that actually explores the backstories of the insane character avatars you play?
Yeah, let's go.
Who are?
Yeah,
Like, that would be a
I think
sitcom.
that's a good amount of Liz and the Bluebird discussion. I feel like I think we covered all the bases. Thank you, each of you. All right, we'll get going with the show proper then. Unless we have, do we have anything written in for this?
We got nothing.
All right, that's just fine. Let's go on with the show proper then. John, since it's been a hot minute since you were in the discussion, would you like to talk about the anime that you watched?
Sure, yeah. So I just watched a show. I finished up Witch from Mercury. I'm in, baby. I'm strapped in. I'm ready to go for the rest of this. I'm into it. I was, I think, like halfway through last episode, right? Something like that. And now that I have completely finished it, yeah, my opinion stands that I think that the first bit was a bit not really my bag, but you really need that stuff to set up how the world works and how, like, Soletta's whole thing is, like, how she's being manipulated, basically. God, it's good. It's really good. I'm looking forward to season 2, the rest of the season, whatever they're calling it. I think it's gonna be just all banger from now on. That's basically what it is. It's just it needed time. It needed time to cook. And now it's hot, it's fresh, piping out of the oven, delicious.
I will always be a big. I think I'm so grateful. If I'm grateful for one media taste that I have, it is that I have the patience for slow burn, extremely. Like, I will put up with anything for like any amount of time. Even and that does burn me before when like shows just get bad, right?
Yeah.
Like, but with this one I was like okay, they're just setting stuff up. They're setting stuff up. It's like, yeah. Yeah, I'm really curious to see where season 2 starts, especially.
For sure.
I think it's really funny. I obviously, like, with this one, the big appeal has been Yuri shippers and stuff going crazy with this show in the broader cultural sense. I think it's really funny that I think an art book came out like a couple weeks ago for season 1, and it had like Mirin's ex-girlfriend or something, and then it's like instantly porn of them everywhere.
Okay.
Like all 3 of them. I was like, okay, wow, you people move fast. But that's sort of what I was thinking when you were with your complaints early on, was like how much of like that fandom mindset like is really tough to get into with these characters, where like people will fall in love with the design before they fall in love with the character, actually.
Yeah.
and how that can be tough to overcome, and that was something I had to overcome myself. But that show definitely leans into that angle, and I think a lot of modern stuff has been in general. I think gotcha games have really changed the game.
Yeah, like
A
that's
lot of anime.
definitely not like how I go about characters.
Yeah.
So it took me a bit to really, lean into it, really grasp the whole concept, to enjoy everything about it. No, I enjoy it now for sure. God, yeah, some of that animation is just super sick. Lots of cool,
Yeah.
and very depressing fights. Like, ugh.
I think Robin said it to me, but it was something like, wow, like, I think it's insane, or people aren't used to Gundam looking this good, I guess, basically.
I guess not.
Because of how a lot of, like, I think even Iron Blooded Orphans is pretty suspect at times. But this is, like, consistently insane. Just all of the
because
animation.
fucking nobody watches the old shit.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Very true. Someday I'll finish. Someday I'll get to the...
It's definitely making me want to watch more, though. For sure.
Yeah. It's so interesting seeing, again, because, like, for the most part, you're either dealing with, like, 40 plus episode series, or you have, like, a very tightly condensed OVA. Those also fucking Kino, let me tell you. Eventually I'll get to War in the Pocket and just get fucked over immensely, I guess. But, like, again, the pacing for Witcher Mercury is so interesting just because, like, I don't know what the end goal is necessarily. And I think just not really having an idea for where things could turn, and really no idea for, like, what is necessarily it's going to be, like, tackling is going to be interesting. Like, it's so weird seeing a show about profiting from war where there's no war happening. Or I guess, like, it's all Cold War. Like, there's been no de facto move by either Spacians or, Earthians to have some movement done. There's been a lot of, like, negotiation and counter tactics and whatnot, and, like, yeah, like, there's still an interest in the, like, diplomatic aspect of it, but it's so curious to not see, a flag raised in either direction. It's all sort of, like, figuring out the ownership of this, non-monopoly that's occurring out in space.
Gundam's so crazy.
It is.
It is.
If I wasn't, like, constantly in the Sentai mines, I feel like, because of my wife, I would have already gotten a lot farther in it. But you gotta pick one,
Mm-hmm.
I say you could do both.
Yeah, you finished Dawn Brothers?
I'm getting to it. I'm in, like, episode 30, 29.
Okay, all right. That's more than I would have expected. You know what? I can't doubt your power levels. Your power levels are so high.
I try.
Apparently, I see it consistently. But actually, let me go get into that real quick. So Dawn Brothers ended, right? And I said that last time. So the new season of Sentai started. And that's Ohsama Sentai King-Ohger. Which is the new series, and it's actually pretty neat. It's kind of the exact opposite of Dawn Brothers, where Dawn Brothers was low-stake nonsense happening all the time. And this is extremely high fantasy. Everyone is like a crazy king ranger, and they all have bug mechs, and the entire thing is green screen CGI, which is a little off-putting, but they are doing incredible practical work with the fights. In a way that's very interesting. I think it's a smart decision to go a completely different route after Dawn Brothers. I don't know how far in advance these shows are planned or anything, but it is like, so they're going a lot more traditional route, like one ranger per episode being introduced, and they just did the Blue Rangers episode, and it was pretty fun because they basically made him the president of a tech company, but everyone in this tech company is like a bancho, like a punk, and they're all just like fighting each other all the time. But they're a tech company, and like they live in like a flying car city and stuff. And it's just really fun, silly stuff that they're doing. I think it's always fun to start up a Sentai and watch it week to week. Just my suggestion out there. It's pretty easy to find this stuff. It's I think I'm getting more on board with this sort of thing because I didn't like Power Rangers when I was younger. And I always like Kamen Rider because it's like, yeah, it's Monster of the Week, but there's like an ongoing main plot that's like of substance compared to like a lot of these shows are very week to week nonsense. And then like, oh yeah, they fight the big evil guy at the end. But this and Dawn Brothers, pretty good. The suits look fucking sick. If I recommend looking them up, they're very cool because they have like a bug theme to them, little bit.
Oh, Kamen Rider has a bug theme.
No, this is the Sentai that has the bug theme.
Sentai has a
Kamen
bug
Rider's
theme. Still,
Kamen Rider this season has animal themes, so they like swap places.
All right.
Yeah. No. But yeah, it's just like it's like Beatles and stuff. To get cool, like
Beetleborgs. No.
it looks cool. Oh no, they see what the reason they're all assembling these kings is because of the Bugnarok, and they say Bugnarok all the time. It's fun. Again, like it's kind of insane because it looks like really bad for a lot of like the conversations, which is really weird because I think if you've seen Dawn Brothers, you've probably seen the insane dog and bird rangers who are like CGI and they look really bad. So like in this one, all the people and like costumes look great, and then they're in like the worst fucking background you've ever seen, like YouTube video quality, and that's like very funny. But then it's what makes when it cuts to combat and it's this really tight practical effects choreography, make it seem like that it's crazy. I don't know what's going on over there.
And that's only for that first episode, because I saw that preview for episode 2, and there's some stares you recognize.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like those fights are crazy. Like it is traditional.
Yeah, no, it's just funny seeing sort of like wow, look at all this like amazing, technology on display, and yeah, like
back at it again.
We are not going to hit double digits before we see that quarry.
Yeah.
The plaza. I
think we've already seen the plaza.
The power plant.
The power plant they've been using a lot in Geats. We're gonna get there, I think.
Yeah.
Each ranger has to have an iconic location as they introduce them. So
right.
We'll see what Yellow Ranger has. All the characters are super over designed in a way that I think is really charming too. Like I said, like imagine tech president Boncho dude with a pompadour. Like it looks great. Fucking.
No, I think having your cast all be like royalty or like leadership, like you can lean into that more versus again like having something too cluttered or. Like, Dawn Brothers also felt pretty, like, consistent with its presentation. I'm trying to think about, like, a Sentai series that, like, was too busy, but, like, I don't know.
Sometimes you get, like... I mean, like, I think Dawn Brothers even, like, right, like, because there's always the 6th and 7th Ranger in these modern Sentai, and it's, like, they don't give a shit about those in Dawn Brothers, and you can super tell, and that's, like, when it gets busy, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where that show goes. I hope it continues to be good because, again, main thing I've been loving is Dawn Brothers had like an adversity. They like hated the fucking toys, and they were going out of their way to like make every fight towards the end of that series, like where they have to bust out the mech and the toys and stuff. That would be like 1 minute of the episode.
Oh yeah.
Like there's active hatred for the toys. And this feels like the opposite, where they're like, check out these sick toys. They made fucking chassis for all the Rangers inside of the mech. So it's like Pacific Rim chassis that they're floating in.
That's kind of cool.
That's like, it's really sick, because usually they're just sitting at a desk, like Power Rangers. But yeah, it looks really cool. And like, the suit is a dude in a suit, like it should be, and not CGI like in Dawn Brothers for the most part, where it's a CGI mech. Yeah, it looks sick. I recommend checking it out. Sentai King-Ohger. Elvie.
Yeah.
What have you been watching?
So I've realized there was a couple of series that actually were entering their sequels this season as well that are not under the radar, but I personally forgot about that.
I definitely forgot about this first one you listed.
Oh yeah, I even forgot it existed.
I don't blame you, to be fair.
So it's Spectre, which is a series that already at this point, that's like maybe a half a year ago. That's like a couple of seasons ago. It has a second season. Somehow had a second season. I didn't think like the series had that strong of a reception or even noticed to get a sequel. I don't know what happened. Like what? I say this baffled as if it was that awful. It was not an awful series, but it definitely was like okay. I know I complained about it every time, like whenever I talked about it when I watched the first season. But we're entering season 2. Just as a quick summation of what the premise is again. This guy, and I think I forgot, is she his cousin? Yeah, this guy and his cousin, they ate mermaid flesh. They ate the flesh of like a mystical creature, and like in many legends and folklore, that's like, whoa, that's fucked up. And because there's a taboo associated where if you do that, you actually become immortal. But yeah, you ate like basically the equivalent of like kind of a human, like a humanoid, right? So that there's also that layer to it too. That said, he runs into this young prodigal girl who has like this innate connection with the yokai, the cryptids, all that. And the first season revolved around this case, around this freak accident of an idol who died. They team up. She's like, you're a fucking freak. I guess you gotta help me out. She also just is infatuated with him, It's a series around like solving cases around yokai, cryptid, supernatural beings. And my complaint of the first season was that it really dragged on. Speaking of complaining about like how things don't need to be that long.
But like really, like even I remember like even the climax I remember that I loved was that she was on 4chan typing in real time, being like, "This creepypasta monster sucks." It's fucking shit, so that it would lose power in real time, which was a great conceit, but it was stretched out over like 2 episodes.
No,
yeah.
What? They were the interesting twist of the first season was like actually it was a tulpa, and like the thing we were dealing with, the monster we were doing, it had nothing to do with the idol death. It was death. Like that was like a separate.
It was just a creepypasta.
It was like, whoa, yeah. She was like owning the 2chaners in the metaverse. In the last couple of episodes of the first season, and she's like, whoa, actually. So yeah, insane. And like the whole dynamic between her and the guy who is voiced by Mamoru Miyano, who played somehow the most blandest man this man has ever had in his career. This man who is known for both being hot and just screaming all the time, playing insane villains like Yagami. He is playing the most boring ass man.
Yeah.
Which I understand, like, they're trying to portray, like, a bizarre... Like, I don't know if they're trying to portray him as, like, a sociopath. Like, again, I don't quite get it, but, like, his jadedness to, like, the thing he has done as a child and now all... But anyway, we're now in season 2. Somehow this series now has a season 2.
I was surprised.
So, yeah, and the theme they're focusing on is, what's the name of it again? The creature they're focusing on is, Ayuki Anna. Ayuki Anna is basically like a white lady adjacent myth where, particularly in many places where there's mountainous regions and like snow, like, like all these hikers claim to see like this woman in white coming towards them, and like all these stories revolve around the fact that the Yuki Onna typically looks like a beautiful woman. And in a lot of these stories that they look like someone familiar to them, so they often believe like, oh my gosh, it's a deceased loved one and all that. And of course, the possible practical explanation is that like people are going through hypothermia, or or they're dying, so they're probably having a hallucination of someone important to them, all that. Some people swear they've seen multiple people. So that's what the myth is all around. So it's focusing on a Yuki Onna. There's a guy, and basically the exact same thing happens. We start with the second season focusing on a completely new character, this guy who decides to go mountain climbing. Yeah, he gets abandoned by his crew. And again, not intentionally, at least at a glance, like he gets lost in the mountains. He's fucking dying. He sees Yuki Onna. She brings him to safety. So she's like, oh, okay, she's probably real then. She's real. What am I saying? This is a series. They're real. The yokai are real in this series, yes. Of course, he can't tell anyone about that, right? But then all these years later, he actually runs into her again. He decides to, he's a guy from the city, whatever, like an office worker, and he decides to move back to this area in the countryside near these mountains that he had kind of this sentimental memory of like surviving and being saved by a spirit. And he actually like runs into her somehow. She's just like casually hanging out, and it's a whole thing where the series like explains sometimes spirits, and again, as they established in the first season, sometimes spirits just kind of blend in and humans don't notice, and it's like, oh, okay, sure. But he like immediately feels that innate connection that this is the same woman, the same spirit that saved him all those years ago, and he catches up with her saying his life basically fell apart and went to shit. His coworkers betrayed him. His wife betrayed. First of all, the subtitles use specifically the word betrayed, and they don't specify what that means. They keep using the word betrayed, and it's like, what? Okay. So like, it's like, I'm like, what? Wait, okay, and they're right. Like, it's a legitimate thing. Like, but like the way the translation starts off, it's like, what? Like, okay, whoa, incel alert. Like, what's going on? Why is he like the whole woe is me like victimization? But no, it's legitimate. Like, he like bad shit happened to him, so that's why he decided to like move back to the mountains. And yeah, he and this like Yuki Onna basically decide to live. They start immediately having this domesticated relationship with each other. But now that piece is ruined because the cops come knocking on his cottage saying, yo, your ex-wife got murdered and we think you're the suspect, because obviously you're knowing the history of all that shit that happened to you, obviously would kill your ex-wife. So anyway, we're now coming back to the original cast, our cryptid team, they go to her. They go to her like saying, "Hey, we have this situation." And again, I really love her character. She has this whole thing about like calling out people on her shit immediately, saying like, of course, like, being like, theorizing like all the ways she could have killed his ex-wife. Like, of course, this could have easily happened, but of course, she's trusting that he did not do that. Like, he has an alibi. He was in no way. He was spending time with the spirit, but they can't, of course, obviously openly say that as an alibi to cops and be like, hey, I was hanging out with I was fucking the sexy ghost lady. That's, what I mean? Like, so that's kind of the point where I'm at. But where I'm at with the series, that they ultimately figured out, like, who the person might be. Like, who's the person in his life that probably actually killed his wife to frame it and all that. So yeah, and it's so weird. Like, I kind of... Yeah, he has this wholesome relationship with this lady, this spirit, and it's like, okay, which is such a bizarre contrast to the arc in the first season, where it's just this really upsetting. No, and yeah, something upsetting happened to him. It's like, oh, it's like a weird subversion of the revenge. He's not out to like get out people. He's just like, oh, okay, they're really just like at the heart of like willing to accept whatever the result is. Compared to the first season, really have this cynical view of society where, yeah, it revolves around an idol. Again, repeating what happened in the first, an idol who, the classic story of like, yeah, there's abuse in the industry. She was mistreated by her parents, and she dies in a horrible, violent accident. Like, and it's just like such a bizarre contrast to what the season 2 seems to be a more step back in the intensity of what the case is. It's very weird. on top of like there being way more violence in season 1, because season 1 also had to explain our main character's backstory and the whole grisliness of like I ate mermaid flesh and all that, and like there was more focus on that, and as a result season 2 feels a little more less cluttered because of that. Honestly, I was surprised by like, oh, okay, I feel like this is how the series should have been from the get-go. If not, this should have been the first story. Like, that's kind of this should have been the first story of like a more straightforward yokai mystery, you know, like how, you know, like, or was it, so it's kind of crazy that they just, the first arc was like, actually there's a crazy twist here, and I'm realizing the weaker parts of this series really is the white bread main character and his weird cousin, who, again, going back to the first season, the cousin made the tulpa, you know, this insane girl who's, you know, in the hospital, and then they're going back again. I don't know how to explain it, but like whenever they go back to those characters, the series just sucks for some reason. And I don't know how to explain, because I feel kind of shoehorned in. Where why is this not just a series about this young girl? And she's not young again. She's just like a little younger, but she's like this prodigal girl, girl associated with the cryptids and stuff. Like, why? So it's like, why is this man with her now? He actually, like, honestly, he hasn't been doing anything in the past couple of episodes. It's all been around Kotoko. Yeah, again, Kotoko is her name. Kotoko, like, who is the main, you know, the queen of the cryptids. Like, at this point, they're like worshiping her. It's very funny. Like, the cryptid, like all the creatures respect her. They're all going to her for her problems. I love the little guys that just help her out. They're like bunnies. I don't know what they're called, but just like everyone else outside, like all the other humans, they're not being, why are they here? They're just kind of awkwardly in the way, like, and that's what I'm realizing now was my, I think, issue with the first season. They kind of felt shoehorned in. Like, we have these other human characters brought into the mix, but they don't really need to be there. This could be just a straightforward, this detective girl going around solving these things. Yeah, it's very.
I remember.
I don't know why they're there. Yeah, is why now I'm asking, especially now where they don't seem to be doing much right now. The cousin got hit by a car in front of people, and she's like, "It's okay." I'm like, why is she here? You know, she should be in jail. She caused the problems in the first season. It's crazy to me. It's kind of funny because they're showing her. So they're like, oh yeah, what happened to your cousin? And they cut to her like a Family Guy cut, trying to like enroll in an apartment, and then she gets hit by a car and heals in front of people, and no one said, like, it's very weird. They feel very shoehorned in, is what I'm saying. I know I'm repeating myself. Yeah, so what were you saying, Rose?
Sorry. I remember our complaints with it was originally was just that we redid, like you said, like we wanted it to be a procedural. Basically, we wanted it to be multiple cases, and I hearing that it's not multiple cases again still is a little. But
they're kind of doing the thing overlapping with, like, they have the Yuki Anna case still in the background, but also the cousin's apartment is haunted. So I don't know. Yeah, again, the structure of it is very strange, and why are there some characters here, and why are they here? Is very strange too, and I think it doesn't help it.
Well, maybe I won't check it out. After all, I was considering it still just because I wanted to see. I'm honestly, though, the thing that I've been thinking more is knowing it's a book series kind of makes me want to just pick up the books and maybe check that out and see if that format's maybe a little bit better for the pacing of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, it's like a case per book, but then why is a whole book stretched out as
over a season of anime?
Yeah, that's a very bizarre choice to me.
It's just hard to like I think it makes sense in the book form. I think that is definitely something that like it needed truncating and screenwriters to take advantage of, to like really good screenwriters who knew how to break it up in a way. Because I think about like there are older anime that like truncate a lot of arcs into like singular episodes of like a show in the 90s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And obviously it's not perfect or elegant, but like, yeah, I think That's the move that maybe this should have had. Or at the very least, like, make them, like, 6-episode cases or something. I don't know.
Yes, absolutely.
Maverick.
What up?
I don't know. What is up? You've been... I'm still a little behind on High Card. I think, like, 2 episodes.
High Card sure is,
It's ongoing. It doesn't feel like it's reached a structure of itself, almost.
So, what is it? This past Monday was the newest episode, so this would have been episode 10 out of, again, I'm assuming 12.
I'm assuming 12 also.
And they threw in a twist of sorts that it, like, the way that it's set up is making me expect either an additional core or a full 24 episode core is like we just got a betrayal.
Oh.
There's been some betrayal happening in a way that I just don't know if, like, the payoff would come around in just one episode and then we end on, like, some culmination of, like, because I don't know, there's such a weird pacing going on right now. So you're on episode 8?
I believe I'm on episode 8, so I might be further behind if it is.
No. I'm trying to think about, like, what that was. Was that the one with the girl?
The one with the girl.
Where, like, the whole joke is like, oh no, Finn and Chris are holding hands. Is it gay?
Oh no, I don't think I've watched that yet.
Oh, okay. That's like, oh, then it might be a while.
Yeah.
No, like, I think overall, the conceit is still strong. They introduced this idea that, like, the existence of, like, the X-Plane cards is, like, cyclical. Like, this has happened before, that, like, people have let the cards loose. They've explained a bit of the origin as well.
Okay.
And just sort of, like, this idea that, you know, there just exists not even, like, an inherent evil, but just, like, an inherent power that leads people to ruin, basically. And one of the other things that came up is this idea of, like, an X-hand, where, you know, the way that it's been presented is like, oh, there's 52 of these cards. Obviously, that means, like, 52 separate owners, holders, 52 separate powers. But to bring up this idea that, like, you could actually, like, use more than one gets brought up, and it more or less is equivalent to, like, you can do at least one thing and then you die because of how immense this power is. Or, like, you know, to even just try and use more than one of these cards already will, like, fuck you up. And it's only a matter of time for, like, when that process will happen. Which I think is neat. Like, again, there's a lot of, like, appeal to it, and it doesn't feel like they're just, especially in a, like, post-Arky world, it doesn't feel like they're just borrowing, like, stand powers and saying, oh, but now this is, you know, you can just use it regular. Like, there's still some ingenuity there, but I don't know if ending it, like, maybe they want to do a birdie wing where they're just so confident that they're going to get that continuation that they just stop in the middle. I don't know if it can, like, step up to that concept.
I gotta say, my favorite thing in the recent episodes that I've been watching is still when they introduce King as this, like, weird tertiary antagonist figure who exists. And I like everything with King in the episode where he's being egotistical, whatever, that was fine, that was funny. The funniest fucking part is at the end where he's
Yep.
like going on his rant and he's like, "Where is my guy?" And he's like, "He has the day off, sir. He's on paid time off." And he goes, "Oh, right. He went to Children's Day at school. Well, King can't interfere with the rights of the worker." It's like,
Oh, no,
it was
that's-
just like, what?
No, that's so good. Again, one of my favorite like bits is whenever we're the evil organization, but also we're like a salaried like union job. So
Yeah.
you're gonna get benefits.
Yeah, it's just a good bit. Like, this guy has a huge ego, but he respects his friend.
Yeah, no, it's what makes Love After World Domination such a
Right, yeah.
heavy hitter is because of like the fact that you have this high schooler in union gig who like the promotion is you get to turn into a cool gorilla, and like she doesn't want it because she doesn't want to be a gorilla. But then everyone's like, "Come on, you gotta have the promotion. What's wrong with you? What's going on here?" But yeah, there's 2 weeks left, and again, it's so wild to think about the fact that this season has about 2 or 3 weeks left.
Yeah.
It,
It flew
What-
by, I really gotta say.
when I say I didn't watch anything, I did not watch anything. I'm still behind on Trigun, which I hear is getting to a point.
Yeah, I can actually talk about that a little bit here, because I'm caught up, I believe. They took a little bit time with Trigun Stampede to go back and do a weird flashback episode of duology, to give Vash and Knives more backstory, and they added some more new original anime characters, and in a way that's kind of weird because it feels like, at least from my understanding, as someone who has not consumed a lot of the original Trigun, this is from my Spencer and my wife have both told me a lot about it, but like they it seems like they sort of cut out Vash's like maternal figure from the story almost entirely to like add in new characters to do different, like the same thing basically, just differently, in a way that's kind of weird. The whole show is very interestingly designed in a way that's like I said this early on, but like my understanding was that it felt like the idealized version of like what you make when you know what the entirety of your story is or whatever, almost.
Right.
Like not quite FMA Brotherhood style, but like honestly more like 2003 FMA, but with less time. Like the weird meditations on things that weren't necessarily important to the like, or like the weird meditation on specific things, I guess is what I should say. But yeah, it seems pretty good. I think like I feel triple insane now because I watched the first like 3 episodes of old Trigun, like 1998.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. Those are different shows. Wowie. I was blown away. I starting this up, I had really gotten the vibe that like, this is very different tonally, because like Vash had always been the silly guy in all like people talking about Trigun I'd seen, but holy shit, did they not talk about how silly he is. Goodness. Like it really is full fucking Christian emo yaoi sadness in the new one, and that is not the vibe of the original at all. It's very it's a lot more subdued in the original, at least. I think I'm really curious to see how long Trigun Stampede ends up being.
Mm-hmm.
But like I definitely think that it is the thing you watch after. I think like it's fine to watch as someone who doesn't know anything about Trigun, because obviously I've been doing that and having a good enough time. But I bet that shit is really, really good if you have seen all Trigun stuff, or like maybe frustrating in some ways. But like I think it's more interesting if you've seen all Trigun stuff, and I think it's really interesting that they took this angle with it. It feels almost like the Final Fantasy VII remake style of stuff, where it's like we're remaking this thing, but like we are going to change a lot in weird ways to like flesh out what we think is important. And I think that's really neat. And I think more things should be like that, honestly. Like, I would kill for a cut of Naruto where they end on the Sasuke retrieval arc. They're like, we're good. you know, like we're good or something.
Yeah.
Like really highlight specific things.
No, I feel that.
Yeah.
And again, I should get to OG Trigun. It's more so like people have recommended it in the way where it's like, oh, you ought to get through that first before you get into Stampede. And it, like,
I don't think you need to.
Sometimes the way that, like, and I get, because I'm definitely a stickler about, like, if you can watch something in release order, do it. But again, the case of Stampede and OG or 98, like, that feels different than, you know, oh, what Gundam do I start with? Start with 79 and go from there.
Yeah, definitely. I will echo what I said before, though. Like, I think Stampede really needs filler, and I think that the most distracting thing watching it is you're constantly realizing how expensive it is and the decisions that they're making because of how expensive it is. Because I think about like the successes of something analogous, not comparable, but Cowboy Bebop, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like Cowboy Bebop has a bunch of filler in it. It's almost all filler, you know, but it helps create this vibe and add to the characters gradually in a way that's like really effective. And here, because it's just so clean cut, it is a little tough to get attached to these characters without knowledge that they are more than this, you know? Like, if you're someone who didn't have, like, I think it's really interesting that this is something that exists only because of how much Trigun exists in the world, and like that they can make something like this. But like, if you only consumed only what's in Stampede, I don't know if there's much there. You know what I mean? And I kind of wish there was. I kind of wish there was, like, you know, more episodes where Wolfwood is fucking around instead of immediately cutting into Wolfwood's tragic backstory. But who knows? I'm really curious to see what comes of this all. I don't know how long it is the thing.
Oh, like, right. Wasn't there something that said that, like, it's now going to be 24 episodes or something? Or
I don't know. All I know is, like, episode 10 aired, and then they put out, like, a picture of Knives and Vash fighting and saying, like, the fight only just begun or something. It was like, what? Like, which, like, makes sense because, again, like, barely anything has happened in the story. Like, there's so many characters to throw in there and stuff, but I really wonder, like, I don't think Studio Orange is like a long haul series. It can't be more than 24, right? Like, but who knows?
All I know is that there is a wanted poster somewhere. Someone gets a gun that they're supposed to have much earlier.
A lot of stuff is there. I think, like, I talked about it before, but like my favorite one is just that Million Knives actually has knives now.
Yeah,
like, that's great. I think there's a lot of decisions in this that are really interesting, and they're, like, definitely from, like, recalibrating, like, how you would have written this after knowing how you finished it. Like I said, I keep saying, but, like, it really is, like, yeah, it's good to make the dude who's, like, give Vash the cool gun because he's the dude who's, like, a pacifist and doesn't want to, like, get involved with all this stuff or whatever, and then give Knives millions of knives because he's the dude with the fucking, you know, direct action. Like, he's getting up in that shit. And I think there's a lot of, like, really smart things here, and I'm enjoying it, but I'm curious to see. I think, like, a lot it's gradually won over more people, I think, who were tentative about the early episodes.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see how people feel.
I mean, again, a lot of those people are like, we want Millie, and it's like, I get it.
So, like, now having seen Millie, it's like I get it, but, like, I think we're, like, I want her to appear eventually, but, like, she's not, like, if the way people talk about it is like if they cut out fucking Wolfwood, basically.
Right.
Like, and it's not that. She's a joke character, fundamentally, you know? Like, she exists to be humanity, definitely, in a major way. And I think it is definitely a little frustrating that they replaced her with the most generic guy of all time, Roberto De Niro.
Roberto.
I think the thing that shocked me most about Trigun Stampede is that Roberto De Niro has not died yet. He feels like the type of character you kill and introduce Millie for, you know? Like that.
I mean, I assume that's going to be the eventual...
Yeah, I just am shocked it has not happened yet. You know, like, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
But they're going for such a serious tone. And after watching those older Triguns, it feels so weird that is the case. Because, like, the old Trigun's so goofy. He's jumping around. He's crawling around like a spider. He's
crawling around like a dang rugrat.
He's blowing himself up and then doing the worst laugh you've ever heard in your life.
Oh.
It's pretty good. We were watching the dub. It was pretty good.
Good old JYB.
Yeah, it's a classic. He's doing it again for this one, right?
I think so, yeah.
That must be... I mean, I guess he does Nero, doesn't he? In Devil May Cry, so...
Yeah, no, he's still got the range for it.
He can do emo. Yeah. Elvie, Vinland Saga Season 2.
Yes.
You have also been watching, huh?
I've also been watching that. In comparison, good. To be honest, Inspector, again, the good moments so far are like, oh, cool, and then it shifts back to, like, the problems I mentioned, right? Vinland Saga, wow. So it's very interesting, and I'm, like, rolling my eyes, and I'm like, oh, of course there would be people who would be sucking their thumbs, pissing their pants about, like, Season 2 is not the same, missing the point of...
Where's the beheading?
The evolution of Season... Like, missing the point of what Vinland Saga seems to be about. So
yeah, I've only read the first volume, but
yes.
I've seen a lot of people on Twitter being like, "Oh, you people can't just enjoy the farm segment or whatever. Like this
the farming arc.
This is primo Vinland Saga. You people are weak." Like that kind of shit, you know?
Yeah, there is a very strange reaction to the current state of Season 2, which from my understanding is pretty intentional, and I get it. That said, I also understand some of the criticism of the pacing of it, and like, you know, what are we doing here? It definitely, there are moments where
compared to the first season,
yeah, especially compared to the first season, it was just like bam, bam, it's something insane happening every episode, and each episode very self-contained, with like ending on a cliffhanger and really putting you at the edge of your seat over like what's going to happen next. That said, I am someone who is reading and understanding the series as a series that is not actually about Thorfinn.
Yeah.
Who is framed as like a main character in Season 1. But even in Season 1, he kind of wasn't. You know, once
it was mostly Ascalon.
Yeah, it actually starts doing an interesting thing. I felt like towards halfway through the series where it's shifting focus towards the antagonist of Season 1. And I think it really all makes sense once you realize, yeah, the series is not called the Thorfinn Show. It's called Vinland Saga. It's a saga. And again, the saga referring to kind of like something in storytelling, which encompasses like a whole like history of a world, a land, like a bunch of different peoples, like a whole chronology. And I think that's what Season 2 is conveying really well. And I think it actually, I'm shocked actually that it actually, I think, from how Season 1 ended, I think it does a good job of jumping into just things immediately over being like, bam, okay, you saw these. So Season 1 ended with a quick montage of a bunch of characters that you will be seeing quite soon. You know, and again, it was very silly and kind of forced, and I was like, oh, okay, sure, a slideshow essentially. And Season 2 jumps in on like getting us to know immediately, well, who was that man? Like, who was that man on a boat? And how to pronounce his name? Einar. So we and again, I think it's doing the thing that already what I think it actually is similar to what Season 1 did, which I quite like. It was actually showing events in a more chronological way, whereas but from my understanding, the manga is more unconventional with what it's doing.
Yeah, it's a lot more non-linear.
So Thorfinn nowhere to be found. we're focusing on a man named Einar, a seemingly regular man, and his sister, his only family gets killed. Again, pillaging happening ever. It's fucked up. It's horrible over at the Jades. It's not great right now in Europe at all. He gets sold into slavery, and by fate, he actually ends up having the same master as Torfine. So at some point there was a time jump between a couple of years when Torfine fails his revenge and witnesses King Canute. I'm actually still not sure how to pronounce it properly. Rises into power after killing his father, after his own assassination of his father. Most of this season 2 so far is Einar, a man coming from his own different background, of his own trauma, of like, again, everything's fucked up. Why people need to stop this shit, right? War is bad, right? And Torfine still shaken and having a grudge from everything that has happened. And I feel like, one of the most beautiful things, I think one of the most beautiful episodes was episode 4 so far, which was an episode not really showcasing a lot. And again, we're very, very, like, this is like, I don't know how to phrase it, but like someone else has said it, like, what is going on? Are we having a slice of life in the day of the lives of slaves? What the fuck is going, and like, when you think about it, it's like, this is weird. This is not okay. Like, like, what, why are they showing, and they're not, but at a glance, it does look like a weird pastoral idyllic day-to-day lives of like, wow, the slaves are doing housework, you know what I mean? And it's not, no, there's no cottagecore aesthetic going on here. It does seem like that on the surface, but I think what they're doing is a very interesting depiction of like the what's the word, the whataboutism around things that happened contemporary to that time, to even stuff sadly today over like, you see, there were some good slave masters, which is something they actually do depict here, like, quite frankly, in a very flagrant way of, like, this is, Vinland Saga is the most anti-slavery series, like, one sadly has an anime right now, and that's kind of sad that we're not having, anyway, I still haven't tried that fairy series, you did complain about it. I still am very curious about, like, how bad it is, but that's sad. Back to Vinland Saga in contrast. Right, there's a scene like where Einar is sold in the market, and like it's so beautifully composed. Mappa is doing season 2, where
they reflect the dehumanization. Perfectly.
And the shot that struck me was like Einar's like just standing there. And again, there's a whole sequence where, like, we gotta wash the slaves. And, like, they see, at a glance, it's like, oh, wow, they're treating them so well. They're baiting it. And then you have to realize, as a viewer, like, oh, my gosh, no, they're slaves. They're treating them well because they're being sold. And Einar and, like, other slaves are standing in the middle of this square in a town. And the way he's framed is, like, near this meat market, near this farm animal market. And it's, like, obviously on the nose, but how it was framed was just very beautiful in, like, a very upsetting way. But there's all these constant juxtapositions of like the slaves and Einar and like Torfine being treated nicely, or the bare minimum of being treated nicely, but then constantly being reminded, no, they're not, they should not even be here. They should be like at home. They should be like, and Leif Erikson is still going around trying to find Torfine. He doesn't know where the fuck he is. So, there's still that going on in the background. But it does such an excellent job of depicting that difficult whataboutism over like, is there such thing as a good slave owner, or is there such a good thing as like doing the bare minimum in the context of a societal issue that really can't be changed on an individual basis, right? Like, and all that. Because so far the current relationship between Einar and Torfine, again, they share the same master, is that the master made a deal with him over like, if you make this amount, he made a bet with him, if you make this amount of like earnings, you can buy yourself your freedom. And it's like, again, this contrast of like, oh, okay, he's quote unquote being nice, but at the same time, he could just free them,
Yeah.
right? So, and then there's this, and yeah, there's now this interesting dynamic too at the point of the series I'm in, where yeah, they're showing now all the other people like in this kind of I forgot this kind of this feudalistic family. So right, there's a son. One of the sons of the master like doesn't actually. It's not, so far we're not really showing his moral like cause or whatever. But right now he's like kind of not satisfied in the position of him. So we're already now seeing even more like interesting, not other foils, but yeah, like similar to the themes of the first season, and it's just a recurring thing, like challenging all these notions of masculinity and like what that is and what that means. So all that's coming up to surface. So again, I got sidetracked a little bit to talk about like the series depiction of slavery, which I think is like shockingly, saying good is not the right word, but it's actually nuanced, and I think it's done very well and thoughtful. Which is, again, like, I'm very thankful for that. It's like, it seems very well researched, which, from what I, again, felt like how this series is crafted. But going back to what I was saying, episode 4, just the depictions of, even, again, combating, like, people's issues over being, like, where's the violence? Which, again, is missing the point of, I think, what the series is. This is now coming down from that high. And we're still not really centered on Thorfinn. We're still centered around everyone else but Thorfinn. And I think for some reason, like, the opening song of this season, I think immediately, like, triggered something in my head being like, oh, I see where we're going. Whereas the first season's opening song is this crazy metal song. This season's opening song is this kind of, like, sad R&B adult contemporary song. I don't like trying to, and then it's making me oh my gosh. So season 1 was about anger. Season 2 is about trying to come down from that anger. So yeah, I keep getting sidetracked, but like I don't know how to explain things that way. So episode 4, Einar and Thorfinn have this kind of man-to-man, heart-to-heart. They want to fucking kill each other. They piss each other off. They're just like. One guy's holding back the other guy. Like Einar is in this moment where he's like there's these normal guys coming up to deliver food to the slaves, and these guys are like being like, you guys should be thankful. No other master like treats his slaves that well. And Einar like wants to beat the shit out of those guys. And then Thorfinn actually has this moment of meditation holding Einar back. So anyway, there's all this back and forth between these two where they both kind of come from similar backgrounds, and now they're like kind of again this new pairing of foils, right? And Einar is about to kill Thorfinn in his sleep. And Thorfinn is having what is clearly a post-traumatic stress disorder episode. And and again, I try to recount like all the ways like of other shows or pieces of media I've seen depict that. They've done it, I think, in a very like, again, thoughtful way that really poetically, I think, defines the dynamic between these two characters, where, Thorfinn is having this nightmare, again, as a child, running away from this imagery he doesn't remember. Like, a lot of people don't, sometimes you get memory loss when you suffer something traumatic, and you don't quite remember why you're going into shock or being afraid. You don't know what you're running away from. And in that moment, when Thorfinn wakes up, Einar realizes, I don't want to kill this person. And that particular moment was like very, it really struck me. It really struck me that they handled something like that, like very well. And for someone to say that this season is boring is really missing the point that this season is more about like the path to kind of recovery, I guess. Like, I don't know. Like, to me, it felt like, the way they're depicting Thorfinn in this season as of right now is like a drug addict, I think, recovering. And I don't know if that's the right word to say, but there's a lot of like reads I'm applying like modern things to that. I don't know. I feel like I'm just kind of getting it that a lot of other people are misreading. And that's to say, I'm saying a lot. It's not true. I think like the minority opinion over like kind of like misreading the distinctions between the violence of the first season to more of like this kind of temporary calm in the second season is a very minority opinion. But yeah, I'm shocked at how well this series I like went into being like, oh yeah, cool, Vikings, violence, like history. Actually is handling like and depicting a realistic exploration of like human suffering well. Not just being like, wow, sad, like they're actually like depicting all these nuanced behaviors of like someone going through trauma and learning how to recover from that. And that to me is like, I don't know, that's interesting. Like, I really want to know like what what the writer's room was like actually kind of depicting that. It feels very personal.
I can tell you immediately because I've looked into this a lot when I was watching season 1 and reading a little bit of it. But the author is definitely what I would call a really, and this is rare to find in a lot of like when you're writing historical fiction stuff.
Right.
Very empathetic historian.
Right.
Of like evaluating like I think people have talked a lot recently about how like the Native American tribes that are involved with later parts of the story went out of his way to talk to all of them and make sure that everything is being used correctly, the language and like their culture and habits and stuff like that. There's a trans character again, talks to trans people about putting them into the story and stuff like that. Like it's really something that like makes a lot of other stuff look really bad. Yeah, I think. Especially when it comes to like Japanese works of history stuff, like not quite historical, but we think about our me and John's complaints, especially about
muddled by like
a ranking of kings.
Yeah, muddled by like sadly, misinformation,
like biased angle, historical. Like, oh, I learned this in school, so it's just true or whatever. Or I read the book by a Japanese historian, it's just true or whatever. You know, like actually reaching out and accessing these sources in the world because you know that they have to exist, and then like portraying it. Like more writers should do that extremely. Like, you'd think they would care about the world they're making, right? Like they would care about wanting it to be like not just truthful, but like well considered.
Yeah, there's the extremes of like, you know, the joke about like historians don't know how to write, yet they're people who write all the time because like they're looking at things from they're trying to look, a good historian at least, they're trying to look at things from a very clinical angle, so they're just like going down listing facts. Again, I'm someone who like has read historians' books and like they're trying as fuck. You really have to be interested, and there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, like I much prefer that versus like a very biased, potentially muddled by a very subjective viewpoint of the other extreme of like being very xenophobic, like having, you know, and that there's that tricky balance where like both of those sides don't really investigate personal human experiences. So I think I'm realizing now what I'm trying to say. It feels like something like Vinland Saga truly investigated what the experience of a war veteran is like in a way that I think is sometimes
ignored, right? Like,
but also like when I think about American war stories, it's unfortunately through a jingoistic lens. You know what I mean? Like there's some sort of like creepy like propagandistic thing of like, look how fucked up. It's too many fucking movies about World War I and Vietnam specifically, and I understand because they were very significant. But like, look how fucked up war is. Like these people are so sad, you know. And then it swerves being like, that's why we gotta support war. You know what I mean? Like it's just, you know what I mean? That's why you gotta join the military. You know what I mean? Versus something like this, I feel like is actually threading on like an actual, genuine, authentic approach in depicting it, and not just saying war is bad, but also like. Yeah, the minute, the not minute, but like the other more individual issues of like masculinity and defining what masculinity is in something like Vinland Saga, and how that kind of encompasses things beyond war, and like how that encompasses how that influenced the characters' motivations and how their fathers or the absence of fathers or negative imagery of like what being a man is really impacting their personal ambitions and all that. It's just it's such a good series.
Yeah. It's fantastic. I need to watch more, but it's been like I've had so many headaches recently that it's like I don't. Also, like I've joked about this before, but I really am like managing my Kino consumption rates of like, this is so good, like I need to save this, you know, like I need to not watch too much good.
If you know you're watching something awful that day, you should not like
follow it up with that
and save it for that day you need to like reset.
Yeah, exactly. But it's been fantastic. Again, like I've heard people refer to this as the peak of the series, and I'm inclined to believe it to a degree. Like, it's so well considered in every angle. Like, man, it's great. It's just great.
And then Torfel comes back. He's insane, giant
the
man
most insane man
who is not real.
No.
Jason there.
I think it's really funny to think about how that Assassin's Creed game was super like, oh wow, they read Vinland Saga and then made this like extremely, and then it's like the real historical like it that is the game designed for people who wanted this to be more fighting, basically. Like it's I think that there's a lot of analysis of like, yeah, I wish people were just smarter about their historical fiction. That's all. Like I think that it is such that like it really makes the world like in this case, like you can analyze the horrors of the world before, but like it always dehumanizes the people of that time every single time, no matter what. And it's like, no, they were people. They were people.
A particularly funny moment, and again, not really spoiling it because I don't know if it's going to be revisited, but a particularly funny moment, and similar to how like Iruma in the recent season was deciding to focus on the other characters, and that's like adding dimension to the school and all that beyond just the main cast. But there was a particular moment, again, where one of the sons of the slave master, there's actually, this is the first time there was a consensual sex scene in the series, I would say. I feel like, like, whoa, okay. I was like, what is going on? It's like, oh, okay, so what's going on? Where, he's getting it on with, like, a peasant family's daughter, and they seem to be in on it, and then the parents are being fucking weird, being like, oh, shit, this, and again, they're being fucking weird, but also there's the context of, like, they're a poor family. They're like, if our kids have a relation, if our kids get it on, we could be wealthy because he's the son of a slave master. He's the son of, like, a feudalist guy. But eventually he storms out because he realizes the parents are, like, being fucking freaks. And then it's now led to believe, oh my gosh, they're using their daughter to take advantage of my status. But it's like just like that's just shit like that. That's like, what? That was just not at all in the first season. But it's also just kind of funny in a dark way that this stuff like that, those weird moments like that would have happened so often in a setting like that, in a society like that, would like class being such a huge visible issue and very much a thing you can't avoid. And again, apparent here, this is a series depicting slavery, where issues like that come up in regards to people having to awkwardly navigate around the fact that they're of two different classes and trying to convey it in a silly way while circling back to now the seriousness of the rest of the episode. And that to me was very funny.
It's good. It's good. All right. I think we can wrap it up here, and we can talk more next time, I suppose, if that's okay with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
Alrighty, then Pog. Okay, so we watched The Damn Liz of the Bluebird last time, which was John's choice, which means it's a Patreon pick this time. And this was vaguely a Patreon pick, I suppose.
It's from the community.
It's from the community. It's for the community. So we are going into the month of April, the month of Fools, and we're going to watch TQ, all of it. We're going to watch all of it. We're going to watch all of TQ, all 9 seasons. And for the uninitiated, that is only actually like, what, 9 24-minute seasons.
It's less than 3 hours altogether.
Yeah,
not even a movie length.
It's all over there on Crunchyroll. They're like 2 minutes each every episode. We are going to watch all of that by a month from now. Mm-hmm. So buckle up for that one. I've seen like 4 seasons of it.
Oh my
Saying
God.
4 seasons feels disingenuous. Like, it just feels fucking like I'm lying to you. Like, when I'm saying that.
Seen 4 episodes, like, it's, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's something. It is something. And we will all see.
Oh, man.
I think that's the polar opposite of Liz and the Bluebird, really, if you think about it. Like, it's
not.
Jam-packed nightmare series.
You're right. It is like a complete inversion of it. It's my issue with Liz and the Bluebird being too long, and this is not long enough, but it also is too much.
So much happens.
There has to
yeah.
be people who have done a frame by frame breakdown of this whole thing.
Oh, of course.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. As always, you can send in questions and opinions to videogamechoochoo.tumblr.com/ask or Twitter or Discord, whatever. And of course, patreon.com/VGCC. $3 gets you everything 1 week early, including this show, or special bonus things like our episode where we picked another host for the podcast. You can find over there on patreon.com. Yeah, that's about it, I think. Yeah. So thank you all for joining me and discussing all those crazy anime. And we will talk about it more next time on another episode of Unlimited Railworks.